Interesting.
So, what does Supreme Court ruling mean for the future of democracy in Nigeria if a president can suspend democratic structures during a state of emergency? Does this judgment align with the original spirit and letter of the Nigerian Constitution of federalism and separation of powers?
The Supreme Court judgment is a threat to democracy. Federalism entails that there are tiers of government, and each tier is autonomous and relates with the other tiers based on the constitutional provisions. The president has no right, according to Shetima, the vice president of Nigeria, he has no right to suspend a councillor. Talk more of a governor. Talk more of elected representatives of the people. First of all, that's an affront to separation of power. That's an affront to federalism. That's an affront to democracy. That's an affront to rule of law. Democracy is the government of the people, by the people, for the people. By the Supreme Court insinuating, because the judgment of the Supreme Court is like, you say the Constitution entrusts the president with the discretion to determine the extraordinary measures to take in a state of emergency. And then in their own interpretation, if the president decides that he will remove the elected representative, then that is his discretion. If he does not decide that he will remove the elected representative, that is his discretion. So you say it depends on the situation. But all in all, they gave him that power. And they came under discretionary powers, which is against the rule of law. Rule of law excludes wide discretionary powers. Rule of law is the absolute predominance of the ordinary law, absolute supremacy of the ordinary law as opposed to the influence of arbitrary power, and excludes arbitrariness, excludes prerogative powers, excludes wide discretionary powers. So when you want to be a judge, what you be at the back of your mind, if you want to uphold the rule of law, is to exclude, even if there is vagueness in the interpretation of the law. Your mind will be, what will be that interpretation that will exclude discretionary powers? Because rule of law is that everything should be done according to the law. Rule of law is that if a statute prescribes a particular way of doing things, no other way is allowed. There is no place in the Constitution where they said that the president has the power to remove elected representatives of the people. In the Constitution, the way governors and the National Assembly members are elected and removed is there. Section 178, Section 179, Section 188, Section 189, Section 191. Section 191 said the post of the governor can only be vacant if there is a case of death, resignation, impeachment, permanent incapacity, or removal in accordance with Section 188 or 189. So, none of this gives the president the power to remove the elected representatives. They only can come by election. That's why I say 178, 179. The people of Rivers State, for instance, elected their governor, elected their House of Assembly members. And then the Supreme Court is saying the president has the power to remove them. Meaning the danger is that the president can remove the 36 state governors by declaring the state of emergency throughout Nigeria and say he's going to rule with his son, Sheyi, with his daughter, Iyaloja, and with the wife, Oluremi. So they will allocate states to all of them. But you have heard, when somebody said there are up to 5 cabals in Tinubu's government, you say Oluremi Tinubu's cabal, Sheyi Tinubu's cabal, Bola Tinubu's cabal, the chief of staff, cabal, the people, all those, Gbegbero staff around cabal. But he forgot one cabal, the Yaloja cabal. So that means there will be about 6 cabals using straw, very long straw, to be sipping Nigerians' revenue. You know one thing about this regime? This regime exhibits a nauseating exhibition of executive profligacy. That is the problem with this regime. You can see, it's nauseating because you can see, check Professor Wole Soyinka's face when he was describing about the convoy that follows Tinubu's son. You could see from his head that he wanted to vomit. That's why it's nauseating. You're borrowing all this money, but your children are going on 100-car convoy. That means 100 drivers. Times it by maybe the 5 cabals. Then you know the problem we are in. This government, honestly, is a tragedy. It's just a tragedy. So, in the Republic of Benin, it is pure illegality which cannot be retroactively legalized. Because when something is an illegality, you can't put something on nothing and expect it to stand. Anybody that is killed or harmed, that is a member of the armed forces from Nigeria, that's murder against this government. Because they have taken them to fight illegally and unconstitutionally.
To the issue in River State, did Fubara betray the PDP or save River State by joining the APC? And between Wike and Fubara, who, in your opinion, now controls the real political structure in River State?
First and foremost, River State is a very funny state. There's no argument as to who is in charge. Why? Wike is PDP. Fubara is APC. So Wike is 001 PDP. Fubara is 001 APC. So there are different political parties. So if you ask me, I'll say Fubara is in charge of the leader of APC in River State. Wike is the leader of PDP in River State. You know what I think? One day, Wike will regret that he sold his state to a president that is power drunk. One day, he will regret it. You know, Fubara's own case is very funny. Fubara is suffering from Stockholm syndrome. You know, it's a psychological response. We are the victim of an abuse. Develop positive feelings, loyalty and empathy for his captors, viewing them as allies for survival, not as threats. You know, this results from trauma bonding. You know, like you are kidnapped. The kidnapper is the only person you know. Like Leah Sharibu now. Whatever they tell her in that place is the only thing she hears. So they just need to repeat it. So before you know it, she might start, bonding with them. They might even tell her that they had to kidnap her because the parents want to use her to do juju for money. I'm telling you. So you see a Fubara who is developing positive feelings for Tinubu, that captured the River State, that put him in the trauma of state of emergency and removed him as a way of survival. You know what? Fubara was given multiple political backhands. Supreme Court gave him political backhand. Tawai! The Wike and the House of Assembly gave him Tawai! Tinubu gave him Tawai! Political days filled his eyes. Political ajo. Ejuyanya. Oh, and he's staggering. He did not have any choice than to start looking for survivor. And then he's using Tinubu now as an instrument to survive the political ajujulianya. Do you know? What he does not understand is that Tinubu would have still done everything he would have done for him without declaring state of emergency and removing him. The whole idea of declaring state of emergency and removing him, for me, is to get access to the resources of Rivers State and give it to somebody who, within 6 months, will make a mess of the resources of Rivers State. Did you not hear how the House of Assembly members told the sole administrator to come and account for the money? Did he come? No, he can't come. The money has been blown. That is the whole idea. So, Tinubu now is using a strategy. Tinubu does not trust Wike. Wike does not trust Tinubu. At the initial stage, Wike thought he could trust Tinubu. That was when the House of Assembly members defected. All of them defected at the initial stage. Because Wike, thought he would trust Tinubu. But now that he's seeing certain signs, the people that defected now to APC, only 16 members. So he now kept 10 members in case of any eventuality. Now, the issue here is this. Wike, unfortunately, has no bargaining cards anymore. If he makes any issue, they will throw him out. Because he's an appointee. Now, Fubara is an elected person. Because Tinubu is a man that likes maximum power, he wouldn't want any other person from any other state to emerge that will have maximum power in that state. So what he's doing is he will use Fubara against Wike and use Wike against Fubara so that none of them will emerge to become too powerful in Rivers State. So, unfortunately, Wike is at the lower end of the bargaining chip. So Tinubu will have the upper hand. It's left for Rivers people to decide. But all these things, it's unfortunate. There was no reason for the crisis between Wike and Fubara. It was uncalled for. Now they will see that when you destroy your own brother, your own relation, outsiders will come and take over your resources. That's what is happening. When PDP is already dead, who is the chairman of PDP? Even the INEC chairman is confused as to who is the chairman of PDP. He had to call all of them. You know that meeting he called? If you ask me, I would say in my own opinion, he just want to give them notice that if they continue like this, they may not have candidates for the election. Because there's none of the factions that are recognizable by law. So you're saying Fubara left PDP. PDP is already dead. Who has not left PDP? I can tell you nobody will contest the election. No serious candidate will contest the election under PDP. Because you may just be wasting your time and resources before any form is given to INEC. It has to be signed by the national chairman and the national secretary. The national secretary of PDP belongs to the faction that say you should not produce a presidential candidate. Wike has said it. That PDP should not produce a presidential candidate. So, the national chairman now, the courts say you should not proceed for the Ibadan Convention. And they went and did the Ibadan Convention. So, if you ask me who is the chairman of PDP, I say, I don't know. And sincerely, I don't. And if the INEC chairman does not know, then who am I to know?
Interesting situation we found ourselves.
It's dead. PDP is dead, effectively.
Your party?
Even Wike said they call him Undertaker. It was as in to go and bury it. So the only thing remaining there. But what I'm begging them is to give PDP a befitting burial.